Morning. How y'all doing today? Well, my name's Tom, and well, I'm just a rambling Christian. If this is the first time you've been here, please stick around. We look at things a little different around here. Now, typically, I like to ramble before I get started, so about a year and a half, almost 2 years ago, well, when I first started waking up, I could see where Venus and Mars and have already been inhabited at one time. And Christians like to go to the 6 days of creation. That's not what it says. It says, let us make man, and man is angel. So angel was already here when they got here, created first, right? So you have to go with that. Adam's feet never touched the earth. Okay? So now I discussed Atlantis, 7 rings. Now these are not. I mean, we have this land is built upon reality, but not reality itself. It's a creation. I tell you, all signs and wonders were given for your enlightenment, not your worship. But this this whole book speaks of them conquering lands and having many worlds, not just this one. And Christians blow that off. No such thing as aliens. Now, there's not really aliens per se because we all come from the same place. But I discussed the destruction and the asteroid field and things of this nature. And Mars is just a moon. I just found that out. But I didn't know that. Now, our solar system is a little over 4.5 billion years old. Now, Christians deny science. I don't understand that because this book validates it. And so do the writings. Eons is the term that the Spirit used when speaking to the apostles. Eons, that's multiple forevers. You know what I'm saying? Now, Venus is tilted on its side. Neptune, or not Neptune, somebody's knocked out of orbit too, and stuff like this. And the only way this could have all happened in our solar system is if there was a big explosion, and like the destruction of a planet. Now, all done by math, by people way smarter than me. I just saw it in here, and just like I've mentioned, I never read a Gnostic before I woke up. I went by the King James Version, which is pretty evil. But like I say, they have more added words. But and I'm just checking out some things. Now, it's ignorant. Science tells us that the reason why humans have become so intelligent is because they incorporated meat into their diet. Now, this is the stupidest thing I've ever heard in my life. It really, truly is. How many meat eaters are on the planet? Quite a few. Now, if eating meat gave you brains and thought, the dinosaurs ate nothing but meat. A lot of them ate nothing but meat. Nothing but meat eaters all throughout history. Where's those intelligent species? Where did they evolve to? If eating meat gives you brains, and thought. Uh, Heck, whales and dolphins and fish and stuff eat the best, that fish, that lean protein, the best stuff, get your brain going, fish oils and all this. Where's the fish man walking on the sea, walking on the land, or in the oceans? Uh, so to me, just saying that brains came from eating meat or intelligence comes from eating meat is stupid because so many things that's all their diet. I mean, alligators and crocodiles have been here for millions of years eating nothing but meat. You don't see them snacking on a salad. Uh, where's the smart ones? Where's the ones that are talking to us? And things like this. I don't. I try to look at it as a whole. You can't say that we became intelligent because we started eating meat. Apes and gorillas and uh, monkeys and things like that eat meat today. Uh, and, well, they're not talking to you. So it takes more than just meat. Now, when we look at Genesis, and we're still in Genesis in a way, uh, we're living the 6 days of creation. Now, we're at the flood, which the Tower of Babel is falling now, so we're kind of there. But we still have time to go. Anyway, now back to this Atlantis. At one time, that one single planet that was destroyed would have been the center. Okay? And the planets, let's say it was the main base, and the planets around, we were all connected. The whole lands. At one time, these planets over the last 4.5 billion years were connected with intergalactic communications and all this kind of stuff. But that was kind of, if you take the writings and you quit looking for it here and look for it in the waves, in the seas, the whole solar system, you would find your answers. Egypt would have been a representation of that planet before it was destroyed. Now, approximately 11,000 years ago, a great flood happened upon this planet. About the same time as this planet would have been destroyed, would have caused a great flood, an instantaneous blowing of the ice caps, melting of all this kind of stuff, and brought about a flood. Now, at that time, Venus was kicked over, Mars might have been the one knocked out of orbit, and the environment, the ozone layer was blown off. All them people died. People on Venus died, Neptune and stuff. And another thing that tides are controlled. We give it to the moon as control, but this is pre-moon. The moon was not here at this time. The moon is placed there. It's perfectly in spot. It's there. And I've mentioned that it's the exact same size as the Atlantic Ocean. But when before that left, here we were a rough, tumultuous land, and that stabilized us within the life zone. Now, this is the creation, okay? This land was brought about through other means. Uh, it says in here that, Christians go to a supreme being. A supreme being, by definition, would be alien. But anyway, not alien. They are you. Same people that are inside. The spirits give it life, the dead. So you're dead of them and dead of all them. Uh, vying for the few here. Uh, that's the battle. Uh, and, we know this because, I mean, whether you believe it or not, there's pyramids on Mars, the moon that has structures, all this. And it's coming out. More and more is coming out that has been discredited over the years. But now you can look at and research it up yourself and get both sides. Uh, it's quite nice. And we thinking that we're the only ones when this is a created realm. Who created it? Where are they? You know what I'm saying? Those are the ones we need to be looking for, right? Uh, I tell you, there's a one that wants to keep you here. We discussed the trap and the accepting of bribes and things of this nature. Don't do it. No kingdoms. There can be no reward and there can be no punishment. You have to come willingly and freely with a whole heart. Uh, Convictions. Accepting new flesh is a bribe. Okay? Desiring a kingdom after death is a bribe. Uh, no punishment expected on the other side. Go home to your father. No problem. But, and so many would argue that no, none of this garbage is really that. And I found all that within this book alone, not including all the Gnostics that I have read since that has validated this. This is why I kind of went to it and looked it up. This is the only book I use here, really, truly. But I have read the others, and I can validate them through this book. This is my foundation. And I'm firm in it, so I can't be moved from this. I validate everything through this. Uh, if I find something that sounds so beautiful and wonderfully true, but it's not in here, doesn't mean squat to me. You know what I'm saying? Uh, Truly, it says verify all things. So we have to have something we can verify all things within. And we can even verify the Word of God by the actions in which are in front of our eyes. So I can validate this as happening right now. And I can find no unrighteousness within it. So, and, we talk about uh, the lands in which they conquered. Asgard is now over in the Greeks and the Romans. They're Asgard and things like this. But what if Asgard was one of the rings of the seven? And those dead are placed there. And these dead are placed here, the land of Canaan. Now, what if you think about it, this whole planet is all about murder, killing people, within war and all this. And I don't care what you say, killing somebody without a righteous is murder. Uh, and fighting an unrighteous law, a war, just because we don't like, well, our ruler doesn't like what somebody else says. Uh, Even though the people may want what that person says. Uh, you're freely, we say here, you're freely allowed to elect your leaders. Now, if other countries freely elect a dictator or say Putin, I don't know if those elections are fixed or not, so I can't say. I can say that Putin was elected, uh, and things like this. Now, we may not agree with all their policies, but we don't have the right to just go in and try and blanket kill people behind the backsides and all this, all that deception and things of this nature, because it's got to be our way. We don't meet people out on the battlefield. We send others to do our battles. That's a Christian for you. Send Jesus to fight their battles. And, our rulers today send young, impressionable young men to fight our battles. And they come back all hurt inside. Uh, Taking a life takes your life. It's hard on somebody, whether they believe they're right or wrong. Some can take it, but a lot can't. Now, like I said, we're almost 4.5. The Earth is 4.5 billion years old. Jupiter is 4.6, and the Milky Way is 13.6. I don't know where they get all this 0.6. Everything's 0.6 pretty much. But when you think about it, here we are, all these billions of years later, thinking that we were the most intelligent things to walk on this planet. Before the flood, you were way more advanced than you are now. When that happened, it destroyed all flesh. It says it. We covered it within Noah. So all flesh was destroyed. That's when we get our moon and our, little furry things that survived and stuff like this, were genetically altered to receive intelligence. Okay? Not by eating meat. That's the stupidest thing I've ever heard. There are things been on this planet longer than our species that have eaten meat since then. For all I know, lizard people really exist because that's what was pre-mammal, right? But now, I'm going to jump a little bit here. Thinking of, things been here before us. Crop circles. I know, daggone, man. Man-made, right? Hogwash. I watched this guy, Y-Files. And they talk about those crop circles and how they're interwoven within each other. They're not just pushed down. They're woven and the nodes bust. And then there's a whole bunch of things that go with it to prove that it's either real or fake. They have definite things. But back in the 70s, that big telescope down there in Mexico or wherever, broadcast a signal to Hercules or whatever. And this closest star to us, like 25 million light years away, would have expected an answer in some thousands of years. But they got a response like 27 years later. Now you're like, oh no, they couldn't have been, and all this. And it was sent in binary and answered in binary. Now you don't hear about this stuff and blah blah blah, all that. But this stuff is readily available. These are old government experiments. Now there's one though that why don't they just speak English and communicate with us? Well, they did. In 1976 or something like that, they sent this crop circle here, and The only reason why I'm picking this is because it's straight biblical. I couldn't believe it when I saw it, and it's a picture of one of them big-headed aliens. Kind of, you can see that, and you can only see this from the sky. You can't see this when you're in it. Okay, and then there's a circle, and then there's a whole bunch of dots and dashes. It's done in binary, and they it's translatable. And the words though that are there. Now listen to this. This is what I've been telling you since I started. uh, these are not my words. They're not his words either. Beware the bearers of false gifts and their broken promises. Much pain, but still time. Believe there is good out there. We oppose deception. Now I tell you, the ruler of this world is the serpent. Uh, Even the gods fear him. Now, broken promises. I discussed this. This is the bribes and the things that you're taking, and it says right within these pages that when they look for their king, he will not be there. They are accepting empty promises. Okay, and you're blocked off. Here is the land of forgetfulness, and all these things are within you. All of it is within you since before the foundation of this world. Now, I gave you some gospel of truth. Now, I'm going to try and hit this because I really want to hit some Psalms to go with this because it all kind of goes together. I don't know why all this stuff just pops into me right in front of my face. I didn't see these till the other day. And I don't think I saved this one, but you can check out this stuff yourself. You ain't got to ask me. Verify your own stuff. You got spare time. Quit watching stupid videos and start trying to listen to some information. There's lots of information out there. But when we oppose deception, now deception is a forked tongue. Uh, People who speak with a forked tongue, that's that serpent. It sounds good on one side, but it's worded in such a way, it's a contract, the fine print. You know what I'm saying? Where it sounds really good on, I'm going to take you and my father's going to give you a kingdom such as I have. And things like this. This sounds wonderful and great. But the downside of that is you don't get to go home to the Father. You don't get to die. And death is the only way out. You seek that new flesh, and that's the convictions of it. That's the deception of it. They need you. You don't need them. Okay? And it is all about perhaps gathering resources here for their physical realm. I don't know. Sounds about right, though. That's what all the old writings. Because I've even mentioned it. How did a rock become so valuable? Gold. It's a rock. Why is that valuable? When you think about it, handmade beads and woven in tapestries and things like this have more value than a rock, right? To be honest, if you went and I brought you a big beautiful wool blanket, uh, and then or you brought me one and then I picked up a rock off the ground and I said, "Here, I'll give you this rock for it." How did man be so stupid as to say, "Okay, I'll take that rock"? You know what I'm saying? It has no value at all. Uh, that's instilled for a reason I don't understand. Just like a piece of paper has no value. But we use it as it has, we die for it. We live, die, and breathe for it, that piece of paper, when I'd much rather have the blanket. But bearers of false gifts and broken promises. Now, we've covered that in here. Now, this here, like I said, is the gospel of truth. Now, when it says here, this is the living book in the heart of the little children. Okay? Now, pay attention here. Now, within this scripture, it says the laws are in our heart. And I tell you, and we've covered it within this book right here, no other books, that this is designed to bring us out of our forgetfulness. Okay? And we hit there on the last one, the gospel of truth, where when you get to know the Father, your forgetfulness goes away. And mine is going away. But Jesus says, I am the way to the Father. This is not by death. This is by his words, his testimony. We need his testimony, not his death. Murder is murder. Hanging somebody on a tree is murder. Okay. He was found, there was no wrong found within him. So they killed him, and that's murder. Now, if he had killed somebody, or, an eye for an eye, we could have called it righteous judgment. But he did none of that. He lived his life. That's it. And the church killed him. Just saying. It says here, in their heart, the living book of the living was manifest, the book that was written in the thought and in the mind of the Father, and from before the foundation of all, is in that incomprehensible part of him. Now, this is you, man. It's in that incomprehensible part of you. Now, that's some of it's self-induced, but a lot of it is when you come through birth, you lose your memory. Now, I covered in the Gnostics where a wise man would not hesitate to ask a child of 7 days old. This is 8 days they're circumcised. Okay? 7 days old from whence he came. Okay? On the 8th day, won't remember that. That's a start over. That's the loss of the memories right there. And the longer you're here, the more dim your eye grows. And now, this is the land that's going to be taken this time. Those lands have already been conquered. Muslims are Muslims now. They've already been a Christian. Okay? The Jews are the Philistines. They'll be the Christians next time. And the Muslims over there will be those out in the world, like here. That's the next land that's not coming back. This one will be destroyed just like before. It'll be before Columbus. You know what I'm saying? It'll be in between the Mayans and Columbus. Mayans were destroyed. Or the Aztecs were here when Spaniards got here, and that was a plague. But those human sacrifices. Now, these are the spirits of the same people who commit human sacrifices all the way through this country. Perhaps that's why you're not allowed to go in certain parts of the Grand Canyon. Maybe they found parts that were human sacrifices here in the Americas, in America, USA, America. there's evidence right in front of our face that this land was here. The Indians say they came first. That's bull. That's such hogwash. They didn't come for thousands of years after. Okay, after, and it's all right there. And this is in you, not anywhere else. It's not in a book. This book is the knowledge of good and evil, and it's called the book of the law. Now the law is good for sinners. This will help you wake up. We're all sinners here. We're in the land of the dead. But it says, this is the book that no one found possible to take, since it was reserved for him who will take it and be slain. Causes death. That's for anybody. It's just not Jesus. Okay? You have to die to leave, not seeking rewards and deception and garbage like that. And it says, and be slain. No one could appear among those who believed in salvation as long as that book had not appeared. For this reason, the compassionate, faithful Jesus was patient in his suffering until he took that book, since he knew that his death meant life for many. Now, this is an example. The only thing that I can bring to my Father is me. Jesus didn't bring nobody else. Nobody listened to him. Nobody believed him anyway. You know what I'm saying? They had no understanding. He just went about his walk and he told them and gave them warnings. If you don't listen, you're going to get a kingdom like I had. And wow, this is great for you. But you're not going home. That's, he doesn't sit at the master's table. He says that. And it says, death meant life for many. Just as in the case of a will that has not yet been opened, the fortune of the deceased master of the house is hidden. The fortune of the deceased master's house is hidden. Seek, and you shall find. So also in the case of all that had been hidden, as long as the Father of all was invisible and unique in himself, in whom every space has its source. For this reason Jesus appears. He put on that book. He was nailed to a cross. He affixed the edict of the Father to the cross. Now, I have covered in here where it says that your wooden idol is an abomination to the Lord. Okay? Now, we got to verify all things. Now, Jesus said they had no understanding. Now, I don't know who wrote this book of the truth. I probably could have found that up top there. But, oh, such great teaching, he abashes himself even unto death, though he is clothed in eternal life. Now, Jesus was clear. Christ would be your teacher. I have to leave for the Spirit of truth to come. So he's not the Spirit of truth, and he's not your helper, because he was going to ask the Father to send it, all right? And he's not your teacher. He's a prophet. He says, I come by way of the Father, you come by way of me. You listen to what he says, he's a prophet. So, now, It says right here, having divested himself of these perishable rags, he clothed himself in incorruptibility, which no one could possibly take from him. Having entered into the empty territory of fears, he passed before those who were stripped by forgetfulness, being both knowledge and perfection, proclaiming things that are in the heart of the Father. I only speak the words the Father gives me, so that he became the wisdom of those who have received instruction. But those who are to be taught, the living who are inscribed in the book of the living, learn for themselves. For themselves. Not by some wise fool standing up there in front of you. He taught the living who are inscribed in the book of the living, learn for themselves, receiving instruction from the Father, turning to him again. Not to Jesus, to the Father. What? Now that's validated by Jesus says, I am the way to the Father. And nobody gets to the Father but through him. Now, it says here, since the perfection of all is in the Father, it is necessary for all to ascend to him. Before, you shall have no other God before. Now, before means first. Not that he's the only. There are many gods. Many gods. We've discussed 5 within one verse in this book. So, ascend to him. Therefore, if one has knowledge, he gets what belongs to him and draws it to himself. For one who is ignorant is deficient, and it is a great deficiency, since he lacks that which will make him perfect. The Father. The Father. Since the perfection of all is in the Father. See? Now, it is necessary for all to ascend to him, for each one to get the things that are his. He wrote these things first, having prepared them to be given to those who come from him. I come by way of the Father. Jesus come by way of the Father. You can come by way of the Father too. Now, when let's see how much time I've been on there. But the Father calling those who have knowledge. Now, I spoke of this. There's a true call, and then there's those that have been evangelized. When I was first called, it put me down. I mean, didn't go to church, didn't believe in church, don't profess God, none of that kind of garbage, okay? My life was perfect, I thought, okay? Beautiful wife, both had good jobs, great apartment, brand new vehicles, we was hitting life good. Now, but I received a call. Now, it wasn't a call like, I feel that since I don't smoke and he does, I'm not going to hell and he is. And that kind of thing. I wasn't that. I didn't go to church so I could be able to judge others for what I didn't do at all. My grandfather sat up in his casket and looked me dead in the eye. And I knew hell was real at that moment. But, So this here, the Father calling those who have knowledge. Now I say knowledge is the only thing that you can take with you when you leave. Those whose names he knew first were called last, so that the one who has knowledge is the one whose name the Father has pronounced. Okay, I am Jeremiah. The Father gave me my name. It says within Revelations, you will see your name on a white stone. That's that stone and called there the pineal gland. And it says, Father has pronounced. For one whose name has not been spoken is ignorant. If you don't know who you are, you have no truth. You are ignorant. This is fact. It says it right here, and it says it in here too. So, indeed, how shall one hear if a name has not been uttered? How does he call you if he hasn't given you a name? Okay, I will call you by a new name. So he called me by Jeremiah. Now, it says here, for whoever remains ignorant until the end is a creature of forgetfulness and will perish with it. If this is not so, why have these wretches no name? Why have they no voice? Hence, whoever has knowledge is from above. If called, that person hears, replies, and turns towards him who called. That person ascends to him and knows how he is called. And knows how he is called. Whoops. Now it says, having knowledge, that person does the will of him who called. That person desires to please him, finds rest, and receives a certain name. Those who thus are going to have knowledge know whence they came and whither they are going. I tell you that. They know it as someone who, having become intoxicated, has turned from his drunkenness and having come to himself. Now, this is that drunkenness on Jesus thing, intoxicated. Like I said, I was Jesus. Before I went to my Father, I said, I've read this book for years. I was only set free about 8.5, almost 9 years ago. Is when I took my pledge, and I was only released almost 2 years ago. Before that, I had not been water baptized or anything like that. I just believed this, and I hadn't set in my life the Ten Commandments, the Sabbath especially, eating clean foods only, and we all work. That I was doing part of it, but not all of it, type thing. Working, yeah. I always, I ate what I want. I ate bacon and eggs for breakfast every day, and I stopped that, And then the Ten Commandments, that Sabbath, I hadn't instilled that Sabbath in my life. You can pick and choose all you want, but they're all just one command. You have to follow them all. And that brought about to that's when I first became Hebrew, and my slavery started from then. Until then, it was just time served, just you're going to be there forever. Once I made that commitment in my heart to, when I was baptized, I said, every step I take for you, Father, my words are your words. Whatever, you need, I'm here. Send me, basically was the thought. And that was with my whole heart. I did that, and I still believe it today. You know what I'm saying? I don't go back on my word on it. I made not a promise. I gave my word Promises are made to be broken. Your word stands forever, right? Now it says, they know it as someone who, having become intoxicated, has turned from his drunkenness and having come to himself. It's me. I can only hold myself responsible. You know, God can't hold my brother accountable for my actions. That would be wrong. Has restored what is his own. My life. My life has been restored. That's what that is. Now, he has turned many from error. He went before them to their own places, from which they departed when they erred because of the depth of him who surrounds every place, whereas there is nothing that surrounds him. It was a great wonder that they were in the Father without knowing him. And that they were able to leave on their own, since they were not able to contain him and know him in whom they were. For indeed, his will had not come forth from him, for he revealed it as a knowledge with which all its emanations agree, namely the knowledge of the living book that he revealed to the eternal beings at the last as his letters. Ezra 2, Book of Life. Those are the ones who are going to get out this time. Ezra 2. So that may read them and think something void of meaning. On the contrary, they are letters that convey the truth. They are pronounced only when they are known. Each letter is a perfect truth, like a perfect book, for they are letters written by the hand of the unity. That sounds awesome, right? Now, since the Father wrote them for the eternal beings, that's what's inside of you. He wrote it for them. Listen to your heart. Find it. So that they, by means of his letters, might come to know the Father. Now, the Father's will. Only those who do the Father's will in heaven. No other gods before me, it says. Before. Afterward, you can have whomever you want. Really, truly, get in there. Find one. But, that's not the way out. Death is the only way out. Not sleeping. Okay? That's the only way. They have no control over you. If you're seeking new flesh, you're going to come. No problem. It's waiting on you. Now, I'm going to cover just a couple lines here in Psalms, just to validate some stuff. Now, we stopped at 25. Now, here it says, my soul clings to the dust. This is that seeking new flesh, okay? That new earth. You want it bad. Revive me according to your word. Now, revive, restore to life or consciousness, okay? Now, in biblical, they use that word revive when Jesus is risen from the dead. So why is that not used, revive, risen from the dead here? Okay? Raise me up from the dead according to your word. Ezekiel 37. I have declared my ways and you answered me. See, that's that. I have declared it. I declared it at my baptism. See, I had not declared it. See that? I did not accept it in me. At that time, I have said, I am the law. And there's a reason why. Teach me your statutes. Make me understand the way of your precepts. So I shall meditate on your wonderful works, on your wonderful works, on the works of God. That's why I tell you, this I instilled this in my life. I based my whole eye on this book when I look around. Now it says, my soul melts from heaviness. Strengthen me according to your word. Remove from me the way of lying, and grant me your law graciously. You see this? Grant me his law, that spiritual law, that eye that can see that it's not one of flesh and blood. Our battle is not with flesh and blood. It is with principalities, which are principles, people. Principles. And the authorities. That's the serpent that's in charge. The one with the two-edged message. Okay? And grant for me your law graciously. The law is in my heart. It is in my heart, and I can hear it, and I know it. I have chosen the way of truth. No unrighteousness. I tell you that. All this cutting people's heads off, that's removing their God and and showing them that that's not truth. I cling to your testimonies, O Lord. Do not put me to shame. I will run the course of your commandments, for you shall enlarge my heart. That's that love. Okay? Run the course of your commandments. 7-day rest, right? And those who escape early. People are not listening to it. It's about, the Christians always say it's about being a new man. But they're not new when they get there. They take all that pain and suffering that they have, or they believe they had when they got there, and they focus it on the world. They take all their sin and they say, now the world is doing that. And, they accept Jesus' forgiveness. They say Jesus forgave them, but yet they have no forgiveness for anybody else. Jesus forgive. We were forgiven before we got here. Jesus says anything that we forgive is forgiven in you. He forgave all sin. So everything was forgiven in him. That's how he's sin-free. He is not sin-free by his actions. He kissed Mary on the lips. He never says he got married, and stuff like this. Him and Mary had a thing going on. And Christians the church wants you to not know that kind of stuff. That's the meat they won't let you eat. Jesus was all sin. He had it all. But he forgave sin. He forgave it in others. Because people get crushed. It's not easy out here. They're not hiding behind the blood. They're out there accepting their punishment in the seas. And that's the design of it. Nobody comes to the Father except for by way of Jesus. Jesus suffered, right? Persecuted. Church is not persecuted. They like to claim that. That wounded syndrome. What do they call it? They're the victims. No, they're not. They're pushing their beliefs on the world, and they're going to crush the world with them. And amongst them, they're going to be crushed too. It's not going to be anybody else. It's going to be them. May the Holy Spirit guide you. May God, the Father, the Creator of us all, protect your soul.